Hello, this is Matt Harris with Verato, sponsored by Harris WebWorks, founder of both organizations, companies. Today, we're going to do a video on a PIM system. PIM stands for Product Information Management System, and I'm going to get into a little bit about what they do, how they work, and who might need them, and why, and what are the benefits of a PIM system. So the first screen, we've got a graphic up that shows you inputs and outputs of a PIM system. So the inputs can come from a variety of places. Essentially, you can manually input anything you want into the system, but typically what a business does is takes their primary business data from their ERP system and maps it over to the PIM. So this would become an automated process. So it's integrated. You can have, anytime you update the ERP system, once it's integrated, the PIM will be updated. And we typically do that with the primary data sets. So if it's product data, it would be your product SKU, maybe a manufacturer ID, pricing, inventory levels, et cetera. Main ways to identify a simple product. So this is just a single product, and it doesn't really will have to have all the associated content categorization. That can happen in the PIM itself once this integration's done. The other sources for your data might be a media server, your suppliers, that's a big one that's really important, procurement, and marketing essentially is your marketing data that might be coming in from your marketing department, might also come in from your partners and your suppliers, but essentially marketing data. So once that data is in the system, it will go out to your channels. So if you're selling these products on a website, that'd be your first point. You would prepare the product data in the PIM, enrich the product data in the PIM, and then push it out to your e-commerce. So a typical flow would be the ERP is a product's updated in the ERP, primary product data. This is a new product or a price change in a product. That gets mapped over to the PIM. And then the PIM enriches that product with more data. So you'd have your simple, your short description, your long description, your images, multiple images, high-res images. You could attach PDF files, warranties, install docs, where the product and how the product is categorized, and all of the associated product details. So those would be your attribute sets. So what size is the product? How long, what color, those kinds of things. Basically what you would need to sell it in an e-commerce channel is those attribute sets, the details defining what it is. And then you can push it out again to e-commerce, point of sale, a POS system, a marketplace like Amazon, Supply House, Walmart, Home Depot. You can generate a print catalog, which is really handy if you've been spending hundreds of hours doing print catalogs. You can now automate that process. And you can trust that that data is accurate. So the data that's coming out of your PIM and going into your print catalog is the same data that's going into your e-commerce site and your point of sale. So you've normalized, standardized all of your product data in a single source of truth for all product data. Now, why might you need this? Well, a current company, a smaller company, might be doing this already, but they're using their ERP system. So their ERP system has product data in it, and in an example, that product data gets mapped over to their e-commerce system, and then their orders go back to the ERP. Now, the ERP is not a PIM. It's not really set up to do what we had described, which is create import processes from multiple sources. So your suppliers might be preparing data for you in different ways. Each supplier might have different data formatting. And so in order to get that data into your own systems, you're going to have to possibly do some manual processes. With a PIM system, you can create an import script that takes supplier one's data and imports it and standardizes it to your format, and then supplier 2 would have a different script because his formats might be a little bit different. So you can standardize everything for your business in a PIM. Now, of course, you can do some of this work in an ERP. Typically, your ERP doesn't have the same amount of flexibility and doesn't have the out-of-the-box functionality to do this. So depending on the ERP system you're using, that can be time-consuming and potentially even expensive if you're writing custom scripts to do that. In addition, you don't really want to put all this data in your ERP. And the reason you don't is because the ERP's primary function in your business is to be the logic of your business and the source of your finances and your accounting and essentially the brains of the business. So again, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. And what that system does is allows you to know where your stuff is, how much it costs, how much you're selling it for, and then to do your procurement of orders and the processing of orders and the accounting of all those orders. It's not meant to store marketing material. You can do it, but it also blows the ERP up, bloats it essentially. It can slow it down, and it can make it more expensive. In addition, it's really an operational function, and it's not a function of the marketing department. So the ERP really is a system that should be managed, if you're a larger company, by your operations and accounting department. And you can always create roles for marketing, but marketing would sometimes be better off in a different system. So let's move on to the next screen. The next screen is showing what a process would look like now that we've upgraded to a PIM. So you take your ERP data and you map it to the PIM. So that's your primary data. Now we're not mapping the full set of data, just whatever we determined is the primary data, which typically is, again, SKU, quantity, price. You might need a industry tag, a GIN or something on that, or a manufacturer ID sometimes can be very important to have that stored in the ERP. Each business is different, but you decide what is your primary data. You move that over to your PIM, and now your PIM enriches that data. So now that all the additional data that the marketing department wants associated with that PIM that you're going to need in those different sales channels, you add that in and you standardize and normalize that product data. Now you have a single source of truth for all of your product data in terms of how you're going to sell that product data. It's not necessarily the source of truth for your pricing. That could stay in the ERP. Inventory can stay in the ERP. But everything else that describes what that product is, that's now in your PIM system. And it can also determine those attribute sets, like I mentioned, and categorization. So in a fully formed PIM system, you can now move those products over to your e-commerce system, and they automatically get properly categorized. So if they live in 5 categories, they get pushed to 5 categories automatically. You don't have to now do another manual step to organize the product data in their e-commerce system. And then when the orders come through your e-commerce system, they go straight into the ERP. So you've essentially created a triangle. ERP sends primary data, PIM enriches the data gets sent to the e-commerce platform, and now orders go back to the ERP. And in addition, the benefit is that you've now segmented your systems into departments. So your operation accounting is in their ERP, and the marketing department is in the PIM system. So now once this PIM is in place, if you go back to the first screen, you can see how this is going to create amazing efficiencies for this business once you decide to sell in different ways through different channels. You have all of your product data now normalized in a single source of truth, and now you can go out to 1 website, 2 websites, 3 websites. Many businesses have multiple e-commerce websites. You can push out to all of your websites through one source of truth. You can push out to all of your marketplaces, Amazon, eBay, just like we had mentioned. You can push it out to your POS system, and you can create those print catalogs, and you can push it out to a mobile app. So imagine that you're a business that has 5 retail stores. You're also selling wholesale. You're a distribution company, and you want to be able to sell through a B2B buyer portal, a consumer website, through Supply House and Walmart and Home Depot and Lowe's, and through your own POS systems at your brick and mortar. All of your product data can come from one source, and it can be formatted to go into all those different channels automatically. A massive time saving for a business of that type. And not only that, you can streamline and automate the inputs from your suppliers. So every supplier can have their own import script, and that automatically gets normalized into your source of truth system that pushes out to the different channels. So you can see how that's a much more mature system than one of those beginner systems where you're just going ERP to e-commerce. And this is a really great solution for any company that is, let's say, in the next generation of their growth. They've started to get into e-commerce. They've noticed in the last 3 or 4 years that's a real growth area for them. But they could probably be a little bit more efficient. They're struggling with data. And trust me, every business doing e-commerce is struggling with data. This is the system that can help you standardize and normalize that data. And it can also build efficiencies, reduce friction, but then also allows you to gain access easily to new marketplaces. So if you're looking to expand your e-commerce strategies, if you do this first, and then you go into multiple channels later, the expense of going multi-channel is going to be drastically reduced. So this investment should pay off for years to come. Now, if you look at our website, where this video is most likely going to be located, it'll also be on our YouTube channel, you'll see some PIM systems that we've highlighted on that landing page. There's a growing number of them, but there's probably about 6 that are the leaders in the industry. For this type of usage that I've described, there's really about 6 that are leading the pack, and they all have their, trade-offs, I would say, or strengths and weaknesses. It depends on the size of your company and the types of data that you're using. And keep in mind that there's other systems out there that are not PIMs. Like a PIM is not a DAM, a digital asset management system. It's a product information management system. And I'm going to do another podcast on that, another video on that. But some companies might need a DAM as well as a PIM, or try to find a PIM system that can also function as a DAM. With some of them, we'll do that as well, or they can be modified to work as a DAM. But anyway, go to our website under Deep Dive. You'll see a landing page on PIM. We'll do the breakdown of the different options and the pros and cons of the different PIM technologies available. But I'm hoping this video does a good job of explaining what a PIM is and how it might be able to benefit your business. This is Matt Harris signing off. I hope you enjoyed this podcast or video, however you're consuming this content. I hope that you check out future podcasts and videos, and I hope this helped you learn a little bit more about product information management systems. Thank you.